What's up, my wizards? Dev, SBMTG, YouTube.com, down there we like magic. I got some Hour of Devastation spoilers from Monday for you this morning. I would imagine a lot of you are going to be watching this on Tuesday morning. I was going to put this video out yesterday, but I just kept waiting on more cards. Like, Wizards spoiled 3 cards relatively early on in the day, and I was like, okay, we'll just wait till this evening. I'm going to get like, 5, 6 more cards. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to wait it out, And that never actually happened. We have the same 3 cards all day. And then finally at like midnight, it was like 12:30, something like that, the floodgates open. We got a whole one more preview card. So I've got 4 Hour of Devastation cards to talk about. Probably going to be a relatively short video, but some of these cards are really awesome. So we'll take our time here. This first card from Monday morning is Oketra's Last Mercy. This is 3 mana, 1 and 2 white for a sorcery. Your life total becomes equal to your starting life total. Lands you control don't untap during your next untap step. Okay, so cycle confirmed. Apparently we're going to see one of these for every god. We already saw Bantu's, and I'm not as excited about this one as I am about Bantu's Unconditional Board Wipe. That seems pretty good, right? But this could maybe be a 1 or even 2 of in like standard blue-white control lists, Doesn't seem too bad, although life gain spells are not usually played one way or the other, Pulse of the Fields, maybe sometimes, but other than that, life gain spells don't see a whole lot of play. And, I guess you could say that in standard we have some things that trigger off of life gain. And yes, by the way, this is life gain. Rules state if your life changes for whatever reason, goes up or down, you are gaining or losing life in that situation. So in standard we have things that trigger off of life gain and stuff like Lone Rider too. So, maybe I could see this thing play. And again, even in a 1 or 2 of in a blue-white control deck. People have said that it could be good against modern burn decks, and maybe, but this isn't necessarily great against Skullcrack, obviously, and it's also not good against Atarka's Command, for what that's worth. So, and those are relevant cards, especially Skullcrack in Modern. So against Modern Burn, I still think the card has a couple of strikes against it, even though it looks attractive. Here's Pride Sovereign, my favorite card of the day by a lot right here. This is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 2/2 cat. It's a kitty. And Pride Sovereign gets +1/+1 for each other cat you control. You can pay a white and tap it and exert it and create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. Now, you might be thinking I just like this because it's neat and I like cats and stuff, and yeah, I do like cats. I make no secret of that. And I think this is a great 3-drop for the cats deck that didn't have a whole lot of 3-drops. He looks really powerful, honestly, if you can keep him out. He doesn't do anything the turn he hits play. I don't usually like cards like that, especially creatures that are very killable. And this guy's killable by everything that's played, including things like Magma Spray. Just the 2 toughness at first could hurt. But of course, when you drop him on turn 3, you're looking to have like Sacred Cat, Adorn Pouncer into this guy. Pretty awesome as a 3 mana 4/4. And the fact that he creates 2 tokens when you exert him, that's cool. It's like it gives you enough creatures. Usually something like this would just tap to make 1 creature, but since he's going to be tapped for 2 turns, gives you 2 creatures. Kind of makes up for exert a little bit. And the tokens have lifelink. That seems really relevant. And every time he exerts himself, he becomes bigger. Like, all of that seems so good, man. Cards that synergize with themselves are pretty decent. 3 mana, not too much to ask for this effect. Although the card is pretty killable and such. Still, not much to ask for this effect at all. I actually really like this card and wonder if it can make a real splash in competitive standard. I think the card is more than fine, and I want to see it in things like, Paradox Engine, Cryptolith Rites. Card looks pretty sharp in a deck like that too. So the card has a lot of applications, and aside from any combo applications it might have, just looks like a pretty freaking strong card. So yes, probably to this. I'd say so. And by the way, I don't usually comment on art, but I love this art, man. You got Mufasa standing there just roaring, all proud, and you got like 3 house cats following him around, That's on point for the flavor that the card is going for. And I just really, again, I don't point out art very often, but that is awesome. But here's Mirage Mirror right here. This is probably the card that's gotten the most talk during the day. This is a 3 mana artifact. You can pay 2 mana to have it become a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. So basically any permanent that's not a walker, which is pretty awesome. And people have already talked about a lot of tricks with this. This is yet another trick with Dark Depths. Absorb that if you haven't yet. This is also a trick with Time Vault. Way back in Vintage. You play that pretty good trick in Vintage to have. Another Vault Enabler is always cool. In Standard, people have mentioned this with Metalwork Colossus. It's Colossus Enabler, makes Colossus cost less, and then can copy Colossus. once Colossus comes out. I said Colossus a lot more in that sentence than I think anybody ever has. More than Virgil ever did. But not even sure that Virgil ever wrote of Colossi. But anyway, seems like an interesting interaction, especially in existing Colossus decks. But this does a lot more than that. Like, this can just... There seems to be a lot of off-the-wall interactions with this card, is all I'm saying. And it's going to take some time as a community to figure out some of the things this card does. And people have already mentioned a couple of great things. I mean, Dark Depths and Time Vault are both great interactions. Even though Metalwork Colossus thing is great. If you're making a Colossus deck, this probably goes in. But just the ability to copy anything... it's pretty sweet on an artifact. Grixis Improvise and Grixis Colossus decks, for that, there's one more Colossus for you. I've said a lot about playing this card in the brief time the card's been available to look at, you know. And I like the idea of Grixis Improvise, for that matter, especially since, like, you'll use this to help play your Herald of Anguish, and then it can become a Herald of Anguish. Like, things like that seem pretty cool. A lot of applications here, and I kind of love that we see an artifact that can copy things the way this does. You know, usually Mimic abilities like this are blue-oriented, just blue-blue. But this is an artifact. Any deck could play this if they wanted to, although I don't see every deck scrambling to play it. This is where I'm going to need you guys to go to the comments section on this one, because I'm sure there's a lot of interactions I have not talked about that exist with this card, and if you can think of anything, I'm all ears. And so is the entire community, I would imagine. We're all looking for different ways to abuse this card, so give it your best shot. Let me know what you do with Mirage Mirror. And by the way, last thing before I get out of here on Mirage Mirror is that Wizards has like a thing for alliterative M's, apparently. You know, there's Metallic Mimic, and there's Marionette Master, and now we got Mirage Mirror. Like, there's just a lot of alliterative M's in Standard, is all I'm saying. But here's the card from late on in the evening tonight. This is Ramunap Hydra right here. He's 4 mana, 3 and a green for Hydra. He's 3/3, and he's got Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. As long as you control a desert, Ramunap Hydra gets +1/+1. As long as there's a desert card in your graveyard, Ramunap Hydra gets +1/+1. Okay, so a good ceiling on this, I would guess. You know, 4 mana, 5/5, 3 keyword abilities. Seems good, but you got to do a little bit of work to get there, although probably not that much. Like, dumping a desert in your graveyard is as easy as cycling one, and having one out is as easy as playing one. So it doesn't really seem like you have to jump through that many hoops. You get a 4 mana, 5/5 with 3 decent keyword abilities, you know. Blocks things like Avacyn, blocks Heart of Kirin pretty easily with its reach too, so that's nice. Has Vigilance, so it can attack and still block those 4/4s, you know. That's good, and can trample over against chump blockers. It seems at least decent, you know, all that's okay, but I'm not really sure how much sway deserts are going to have in this format. You know, not really. But this is definitely the best card we've seen so far for the Deserts deck, which will definitely be a budget thing. This is a no-brainer 4 of in the budget Deserts deck. So, but I actually think the card could do some work, you know. But I guess if I were to apply negatives to the card, I'd say that I've always really liked Woodland Wanderer, and I kind of compare it to Woodland Wanderer. But not everyone shares my love of Wanderer, and Wanderer's ceiling is arguably higher just because it can get an extra point of power. So, you know, if Wanderer didn't see all the play in the world, then I'm not sure this will. Although, conversely, you could argue that its hoops are easier to jump through. You could essentially play this in a monocolored deck and still get the ceiling of its value. With Wanderer, you have to play a bunch of colors. So, I mean, there is definitely a degree of separation between the cards. Just definitely reminds me of old WW. Man, really, Wizards is all about alliteration, period. I do like that it's a Hydra, by the way. I've also told you a bunch of times before that, like, Hydra is one of my favorite creature types. So, yay, another Hydra, but not necessarily one of the best Hydras in Standard or anything, you know. But I am at least intrigued, you know. Back in the day, you know, Juzam Djinn was a crazy card. 4 mana, 5/5 that does damage to you every turn. You know, this is a 4 mana, 5/5 with 3 pretty relevant keyword abilities, and the hoops you have to jump through to get to that 5/5, not really that, you know, hard at all. So I kind of like it, and I do think it's a great limited card, you know. We see common deserts that you can cycle. They're going to be a big part of Limited, I would imagine, so it's not going to be too hard to get a few of those. You know, in Draft, you'll get a couple. In Sealed, you'll probably get a couple. So it won't be too hard, I would imagine, to get decent value out of this in Limited, considering that a 4 mana 3/3 is already decent Limited value. You know, we basically call that the baseline in Limited. But in this case, you get not only the 4 mana 3/3, but a body with 3 different relevant keyword abilities and the ability to get bigger, too. And it's entirely possible that this is a 5/5 the moment you play it. So a lot of cool stuff about the card, but I don't know that it's making a big splash in Standard. And I'm tapped out for now. That's all I got for this one. Make sure you sub if you're new and you've never seen my ugly mug, or maybe you've been watching my ugly mug for months and you still haven't subbed. Just do it, because it's spoiler season. You hit that bell, you get the notifications, you know whenever new spoiler videos come out. It's awesome. It's a good feeling when you get that in your inbox. So just sub if you're new. You can also like the video if you enjoyed it. Follow us on Twitter at SBMTGDev, or if you're really cool, you can check out the Patreon at patreon.com/SBMTG. And if you've gotten your signed card yet, let me know in the comments. Those should be there very, very soon if you haven't gotten them yet. But anyway, just let me know. It's exciting for me too. But anyway, I'm Dev from SBMTG. Thanks for watching, my wizards.